What's up, Jonas? How's it going, man?
Hi, good to see you, Matt. How you been?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me today and showing us what Carmen's up to. How's your
Yeah,
week?
happy to. Yeah, it's been good. Just enjoying San Francisco. The weather here is pretty nice at the moment.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
I was telling you, we got a bunch of rain this week, and my allergies are flaring up. So if I go mute on you, I'm coughing over here.
no worries.
I was gonna give everybody a minute to get logged in here while we get going. If you're in the comment section, leave a comment. We'll bring up your comments. Leave a comment right now. Show us where you're calling in from. Try to make these live stream demos interactive, and so as we go through Karmen AI, bring up your questions. We want to have Jonas respond to everything. I think there's going to be a fair bit of let's call it healthy criticism of even on the comments of my
Yeah.
posts made leading up to this.
No, we enjoy skepticism, and we love kind of chatting and trying to demystify, I like to say, a lot about AI and sort of the space, and what it actually means.
It's interesting, right? Because I mean, there's a lot of people making AI solutions, and unless if you're used to just kind of using ChatGPT and they're not specifically tailored, even some of the ChatGPTs are getting better, but if you're not using something specifically tailored,
Yeah.
you're thinking, oh man, this can't do anything instruction wise. That was my take until I've seen
Yeah.
people building really. I mean, even when you gave me that first intro demo of Carmen, I was like, oh wow, this thing's just does it. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, that's the aim. I mean, it's impressive to see kind of people using more and more kind of AI tools at the moment. I mean, I was at a scheduling conference a few weeks ago, and like people were using Claude, kind of just like, I don't know, like any tech person would, and like these people were in construction for 30 years, and they were like kind of power users. So it's like it's pretty impressive to see like the adoption. Like only a couple of years ago, getting people to even try ChatGPT was difficult, and now people are like kind of fully all in on it. So it's impressive to see.
That's cool, man. It's definitely changing things. I know my day job, we're in a big AI push right now of understanding what it can do and how it can help us and how we can be more efficient and all that sort of stuff. I think if you're not adopting it, like it's not going away, right? So if you don't
Yeah,
adopt it, like you're gonna blink in a few years, you're gonna realize like you've been left behind. And it's also something where I've said this a lot with Tom with BuildSync. They do automated submittal reviews.
yeah,
Man, like you're gonna have these kids, these entry level project engineers, coming out of college, and they got through college probably on the back of ChatGPT and Claude and all
yeah,
this stuff. And then you're gonna lock them in a job trailer. You're gonna take away all their tools and tell them to, like, review submittals the old-fashioned way, line by line, and da 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 da. And like
yeah.
nobody's gonna want to do that. Like
No, that I think that's kind of torture. I think to a point, it's like, yeah, it's how do you go from using these great tools? It's like taking the internet away from someone. It's just like, what am I meant to do here? Like go to a library and like pick out a book. So yeah, it's getting used to these tech advancements is just something we have to get used to as a society, I think.
Let's see what we got here real quick while we get going. Good afternoon from David. Joseph's from DC. David's from Charlotte. There we go. Oh, this is cool. Kendall, she teaches the scheduling classes Texas A&M. So excited to see what the future might look like. That's awesome. We got Boston, Raleigh, Cali High Desert. And I like this comment. Scott says, watch sarcasm and
Great.
skepticism. So Scott, as we go through it, ask all your questions, man. Like, let's see.
Please don't go easy on me. Would love to hear all the skepticism.
And this is true here, though. I mean, I've said this with AI, though, like all AI things. I suggest
Yeah.
going the old way before you learn the new way. But it's like a calculator in math. That's what I say, right? It's like they made you teach, how to do add, subtract, multiply, and divide the hard way before they gave you a calculator, right? And so, I mean, that's the dumbed down version. But like all these tools, you can't even look at it and see if it's giving you BS output unless you
Exactly.
know the basics, you know what you're doing, and then you can get a calculator to help you get there faster, but you have to know what you're doing to be able to look at it and understand, if the solution, if it went haywire, gave you something wrong, or
Yeah, I think a good amount of skepticism is needed. You know what I mean? As in, these tools shouldn't be looked at as like, this is going to completely do everything for me, and I don't need to check it, and then like I can run my job off of this, right? Like, I sometimes encounter that in the space, and I'm just like, yeah, it's going to do a lot, but don't expect that. Like, expect it to help you like reduce a lot of the manual work, but like you still need to know how it works. You still need to understand your schedule, right? Like, you can't just have it run and generate it for you and not check it. So yeah, I think that's really true. It's like actually like anything, like understanding, as you said, the actual fundamentals helps when actually reviewing this stuff when AI does build it. So yeah.
so people probably don't know who you are yet, but tell us a little bit of background of like where you came from, how you ended up in this
In this space, yeah, of course. So I don't know if you can tell by the accent. I think I'm slightly losing it since I moved to the US, but I'm originally from London.
Oh, it sounds like a North California accent to me.
Yeah, exactly, straight from the Bay. So I moved here just under 2 years ago now. So I worked in mining, so big kind of industrial projects. My last college internship was actually on a coal mine, so quite old school. And then my co-founder was working for another AI scheduling software company. So he was one of the early software engineers. So he was working there for 5 years. And then, yeah, we came together to kind of build AI construction tools. We kind of started off more generic in the space, but then kind of people kept asking for this sort of schedule builder. So we're like, okay, let's just like fully commit to building this and kind of see where it goes. So then we started getting customers here in the Bay, and then kind of across the US, and now working with several very large general contractors with our tools. So we've had superintendents use it, PMs use it, scheduling managers, schedulers use it. So kind of a variety, just because scheduling lies across so many disciplines within construction. We've had like kind of a different kind of person each use it and give us great feedback. So yeah, that's a little bit of kind of our journey into scheduling.
So didn't really get into it a lot, but maybe so it's not a replacement for any of the other tools.
No. So as in, the way we started was like, how do we make using stuff like P6 and Project easier? Like there's a lot of scheduling software in the space. And we just realized early on from conversations, like a lot of projects mandate P6, especially like federal projects. They can be quite strict on it. So we kind of wanted to create like a plug-in tool that can help people do what they're already doing now kind of easier. And so that's why we had these sort of Oracle and project kind of formats just from the get. Like, that's what we wanted to be able to help people to do. And I guess from a lot of my conversations with people, it's like, also, how is kind of AI going to affect my scheduling and building these schedules? It's like, we don't view this as like to replace a scheduler, but kind of like a co-pilot, right? It's like when you build a P6 schedule, and I'm sure lots of people will feel this way, it's like you can have thousands of activities, right? Sometimes, and it's just a lot of tedious kind of work in terms of manual entry. And the time is best spent actually understanding the scope of work, optimizing a schedule, rather than just entering stuff into P6. So kind of like the way, I don't know if you've used ChatGPT or any of these AIs, it'll give you like a structure, like it'll give you the WBS, the activities, and then you can go in and edit it and update it and make it better. But it takes a lot of that initial legwork of just drafting something out of building a schedule.
That's cool. It's I'll admit I'm not a scheduler by trade. Like I took where'd Kendall go from Texas A&M? Like I took one scheduling class while I was at A&M. I used P6 then. I graduated in 2010 and have not opened P6 since. Like, we've been a project company, but it's just like I remember being overwhelming, right? And there's like so many, you got to push so many buttons and all this. So I mean, obviously you got to understand the system, but it's tedious. Like schedule building is tedious.
Yeah.
I think that's the promise, right? Is kind of get rid of some of the tediousness of it.
Yeah, I mean, also just like schedulers at the moment just can kind of be overwhelmed by stuff because they have to wear so many hats, right? Like not only just, you have to keep schedules up to date, maintain projects, but you also are bidding on new projects, right? You're sending out proposal schedules, and like sort of juggling this stuff. Also, you might not even win these projects, right? And you're already building schedules for them. So it's like also just trying to take some of that kind of manual work off their plate so that they can focus on actually keeping these projects on track and having more time to actually do that. So yeah, that's kind of the angle at which we looked at it when we were like first started building.
I got you. Well, you want to jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me just share my screen.
So guys, while he's pulling that up, again, healthy criticisms, you're welcome. So throw them the curveballs. Let's see what this thing can do.
Okay, awesome. Let me know when you can see it, Matt, and I can just get cracking.
Yep, I got it up here. Okay,
awesome. So Karmen is pretty simple. You just start by uploading project documents. So this can be anything. An owner gives you, this can be from a bid package. So I've just shown here, this is a project spec. You can upload contracts, drawing packages, anything really that an owner gives you can upload it and can understand these PDFs. And then we also allow you to upload kind of historical schedules. So the way we've seen people build schedules at the moment, like a typical structure would be like, okay, I have a template or I have a similar job that I've worked on before that I kind of want to take that similar structure to and apply it to this new project. So you can upload either Microsoft project files or XCR files, any format that it's in, and Karmen can have that context when it goes to build you a new schedule. So once you've uploaded those documents to a project, you can go to our schedule builder. So typically we recommend to kind of do this in stages. So understand the scope, do the WBS, the activities and the logic, and then kind of refine it afterwards. We have like a step-by-step stage of doing it, but just for the sake of ease, I'm just going to ask it to create a baseline kind of off the bat. So all you have to do is just start by simply asking it just to create a baseline schedule. So what Karmen will do, as you can see now, is going to review all those project documents that I just showed you, go in, understand the scope of work, and then once it's read those, if it has any questions, so for instance, if you want sort of a tight deadline or you want to just focus on one phase of construction, you can ask those questions, or you can ask it to just focus in on something. But otherwise, it'll just go ahead and start by creating the WBS structure. So you just see here on the left, the WBS start to be populated. And then as it's done that, it will then go ahead and start by filling in these activities. So you can see here, it's breaking down construction even further. So you can edit manually within Karmen activities, or you can chat with it. So think of it like kind of like a Claude, but specifically designed for schedule building and editing. So you can tell it you want to do different things to the schedule, optimize it, give it different constraints, and it will go and it'll take that into account. So you can see here it's starting to build the activities, and it'll then do the full logical sequencing once it's built that. So you'll see a Gantt chart here basically start to form. We also are able to have stuff like calendars. I know it's important for people when they're scheduling and have exceptions within these calendars also. You can have multiple calendars. So we also offer sort of like a subset of resource loading as well. P6, as you probably know, is very complex software, has lots of features, but we do have some resource loading within the software. And then once you're happy with it, so the point, Matt, which you also made, is that like we don't necessarily need this to live in Karmen. We're not looking to replace P6 or project or whatever software you use. We just want to make using it easier, right? So once you've happy with it, you can export it straight to XCR or XML. So you can take it into OPC or P6 or project. And then once you click that file, just export it. It'll just show up in your downloads, which you can see. It's the XCR file, which you can then go and open into P6. So this is just what it looks like in P6. So you can then edit it from here, do whatever you want with it. If you want to customize it, change it. This is just the export here to P6. So that is kind of what we've done in terms of schedule building. This was the first thing that we did. We realized though quickly that some people had like an existing schedule that they worked on, or something in which they want to improve it, or they want to kind of chat with it and see how to kind of build out a new phase, or if there's an update to a project, what would happen. So we build out a sort of schedule updating feature. So for instance, like you can upload kind of meeting minutes. We've seen people have like a very common thing we've seen is like you have a field team which has like an Excel file with like actualized dates. And then they update that, they send it to the scheduler. The scheduler then has to go and update P6. It's a pretty just time consuming process with no real thought. It's just like admin essentially. So we wanted to be able that you can upload any document and then ask Karmen to go and update it. So this is just like an office renovation product. You can select meeting minutes. You can select any documentation which you think will update the project. So we can say like apply meeting minutes updates to the schedule. So once you do that, it will open up a similar view to the builder, but this time it'll just start by going through that existing schedule that you have. It will understand kind of what the meeting minutes have said. It'll map it to those activities, and then it will give you a suggested update. So it's not going to update it straight away, but it's going to give you a suggestion, and it will also visualize basically the change which it thinks it will do. So here it's giving you a summary of what it thinks it's going to do to the schedule in terms of update. It's going to then show you here, you can see what activities it thinks it needs to remove, what it needs to update, just clearly for you here at the bottom of your screen. And then if you're happy with it, you can apply all of these changes to the schedule. So again, you can see here, it's just creating all these lists of schedules. And you can go and click on each one and see where it's updating. So you can see it's going here. And then also you can see a visual update of what's been modified and if anything's been deleted. So if you're happy with that, you can just click apply those changes. So it'll go ahead, make those updates. You can review the changes. And then again, once you're happy with it, you can just download that XCR file, which is updated. So you don't have to do any of that kind of manual tedious entry that we kind of mentioned. And then finally, so we were like, okay, so that figures out if you have like an update to a schedule, or if there's, you know, any monthly change or weekly change you want to make. But if there's like a TIA or a sort of change order on a project, that can be potentially more complex, and you might want a narrative to go ahead with it to give to an owner. So
do you want to explain, sorry to cut you off, do you want to explain what the TIA is? I realized in post leading up to this, there's a whole world in this industry who has no idea what a time impact analysis is when it comes to a change order.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. So obviously like owners want to know what's happening to their projects, right? So when changes happen, you have to basically, in simple words, explain what's happened to them. So you usually have to show kind of the subset of the schedule that's been affected, have a narrative to explain what it is. And if you want to get paid, or if there's, let's say, missed milestones, stuff like TIs is super important to like kind of push back against. So it's basically for claims, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, you can prove, an actual delay, right? It
Exactly. Yeah.
proves that
Um,
the change order, the delay, a submittal that didn't get approved on time, and yada yada yada, that actually impacted critical path. You
yeah.
can't just say it did. You can't just say, well, you had 2 weeks to answer my submittal. It took you
Yeah.
4 weeks, so I need 2 more weeks added to my completion date.
Yeah.
Like, do a schedule analysis, show me the impact of the critical path,
Yeah.
and then we'll see what it does from there. Sometimes it eats up float. Sometimes maybe there was a 2 week delay, but there was a week worth of float, in the
Yeah.
activities. So now you only get a 1 week, extension.
Yeah. Exactly. So I guess, as you said, exactly what you said, our idea is that basically you can take in these documents, you can see what happened to the critical path, what's the task slippage, what activities have become critical, and then also get that narrative and subset of the schedule that you can then go and show an owner to say, like, this is what's happened essentially, and get those extensions or to your project. So this is just a change order request. So for, I think it's unforeseen soil conditions on this water treatment project. You upload the supporting documents, your existing schedule. It will then go and it'll run through the schedule. It'll see what the impact is, has there been an impact, and also it can automatically generate a fragnet proposal for you as well, and then insert that into the schedule. So you can just see here it's going through the information, it's identifying the task it thinks has been impacted by this change order, and it's just going to go here and just insert this. It's just generating it now. Okay, so it's just clarifying some documents. But basically when it does generate the fragnet, you'll see it here. So you can also, like I showed you before on the update, you can get a visualization of what's happened to the schedule before you download the updated P6 file. So you can see here, it's said to do additional rebar installation and then a reinspection of the foundation. You can see the new links here, and you can see here in the visualization what subset of the schedule has been affected and where these new activities it thinks should be inserted. If you're happy with that, you can just run the analysis. So what that'll do is it will give you that updated P6 file. It will also draft a time impact narrative for your owner. It will show you if it's affected the critical path. So you can see here, this is affected the critical path by 9 days. You can see the task slippage, and you can see the activities that have become critical. So then these were the auto scheduled tasks. So this was tasks that were manually scheduled, but now have been affected downstream by the fragnet analysis. So once you're happy with that, you can just ask it to draft a time impact narrative. So you can ask it to reference the documents. So as it has access to all your project documents, you can ask it for sources or pages, so you can reference specifically kind of project data. But yeah, he'll just give you a narrative which you can send to your owner. You can ask it to focus on specific thing or any kind of details in particular. And yeah, that's kind of Karmen in a nutshell. So I don't know if you want to have any questions about or anything from there.
Yeah, we got a couple questions here. I got a couple of my own, but we'll start with the audience questions.
Okay.
One, this one's been hit on a couple times, but durations. So
Yeah.
you have your plans and specs. Like, how does it know that this plumbing is going to take 3 days versus 5 days? Is it,
Yeah.
is it consideration, scope size, quantities, production rates, yada yada?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's one, honestly, we get a lot. So what we say is kind of Karmen can take you 80% of the way there in terms of building your baseline schedule. So things that it can understand really well is what is the scope of work, and then what needs to happen before something needs to happen. So what's the logic sequencing? Like, we need to do this, we have to put in the door before we can paint it, right? The one thing that we do say you need to optimize is the durations. And the reason for that is Karmen does understand quantities, so it can understand that a 10,000 square feet building is going to take less time than a 15,000 square feet building, but it doesn't do a full quantity takeoff, right? On top of that, every contractor we've met optimizes their trades differently, is sometimes more aggressive, more conservative. So the time in which you spend optimizing your schedule, I think, will be mostly on the durations. But it can give you a kind of a rough estimate and a starting place for you to go and look at it and be like, okay, this is correct, or this needs to be longer, this needs to be shorter.
Can you, for instance, if you're looking through your schedule, right, it gave you all these activities, all these durations, and then that chatbot next to it. Can you, is that chatbot basically open-ended? You can ask it whatever and tell it whatever?
Yeah, exactly. So you can chat here, you can ask it to do different things to the
could you say something like add 20% to all plumbing activities?
Yeah, you would be able to do that. Yeah, exactly.
And just kind of, and then you can kind of narrow it down, or I guess you can manually go in there and edit your durations manually in the actual schedule itself, right?
Yeah, or yeah, so as in you can go through here and edit the, sorry, this is a link, but you can go to here, so you can edit the durations manually if you want to, so you can make it 2 days. But if you want, you can also chat with it and then say, can we change this to 20%, as you said, across the board for plumbing, and it'll be able to go and do that automatically.
That's cool. There was one more. Oh, and logic ties. So it was durations and then logic ties.
Okay. As in logic ties, it can do, yes. Logic, it has a good understanding from the documents as to what needs to be built and what work needs to be done before other parts of work can be done. I mean, if there's any, let's say, conflicting, so because sometimes obviously documents aren't perfect, sometimes there might be like a conflict in constraints within those project documents themselves, it will ask to clarify what you want to do in terms of like, can we run this work in parallel, or do we have to wait before we do this work before we can do the following work?
So like a lot of times, if you're doing overhead rough-in, for instance, right? Like, there's a sequence of your rough-in, and, maybe ductwork first, big ductwork, and then your gravity pipe. And then, as you go down, electrical's kind of last, because electricity can run uphill and do whatever things it wants to do, right?
Yeah.
Say, for instance, like, so it builds out a sequence and it says, do ductwork, plumbing, electrical, right? In that sequence. Could you tell it like, oh, no, we actually want to get the electrical up tight to the deck, and we want to build everything below it. Could you just tell it like, hey, install all electrical overhead and rough-in first, and then it'll go through and redo all its sequencing on its own?
Exactly, yeah. So that's what it is, right? And I guess it brings up a good point again, that this is kind of just a tool for you guys, right? Like, it's able to understand the information which is in the documents, but obviously there's going to be on the ground stuff that you guys know, which no computer will have an access to. And it's like, you can give it that information, that you can chat with it, you can tell it this stuff. And you can kind of make the schedule as good as you want it to be, right? Like, the more you tell it these things, the better it will get. And yeah, that's like a perfect example, right? Of like how you guys would specifically do that work. You can just let it know and it can do that resequencing for you.
So it's got a memory, I guess, built in your account, where if you always install electrical first in that example, it'll know next time to do it that way? Or is that kind of
we don't want to do that, just because we don't want to assume stuff that you do, because kind of every project can kind of be different. But when you create a project, you can just copy and paste that. That's what you do. Like, you can just even have like a template document of like, this is typically how we do work. And then whenever you start a project, you just give it that document and it'll know that like, this is the way we want to do that work.
Oh, so you can upload, when you're uploading your plans, your specs, your sample projects, you can basically upload say a Word document that's got all your scheduling best practices and rules.
Exactly. Yeah, correct.
Cool. And then I guess you'd edit that per project too. We say, okay, in this one, I want to do it like this and like this.
Yeah. If there's anything different, you can chat with it, or you can say when you're creating a project, like, keep this in mind. But yeah, it's as much context as you give it, right? It's able to just pick it up. We haven't seen, like, from our current users, scope and being able to understand, like, the AI hasn't actually been the issue. It's just like interacting with it and being able to give it that information that it can go and build it. That's really the major stumbling block that we've seen at the moment.
That's pretty cool. A couple more questions. What is the scheduling level you can go with?
It could go to like level 4, I've seen, but I'm not sure there's a limit to it. What it would typically take information from is kind of, if you, like, as I showed you before, like if you give it like a reference schedule, it will kind of get an idea of how detailed you want the schedule to be, right? Because it can depend if you're like, okay, I want to create the baseline schedule for this new project, or I just want to send out like a rough proposal schedule for this RFP, right? So it will take from what information you've given it, like what kind of schedule. And it also sometimes asks, okay, how detailed do you want the schedule to be? And then you can specify.
There's a lot of good questions here. I'm gonna kind of go through them kind of quick.
Okay.
You touched on this one. I think this might have came in before you touched on it, but in case anybody missed it, like, yes, you can import into P6.
Yep.
And project, right? You can export.
Yeah, right. We're compatible with both.
I like this one. I wonder if scheduling multiple what-if scenarios in a row could possibly save time compared to doing the process manually on P6.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so as in, one of the nice things about Karmen is you could do those sort of scenario analysis that you can tell it different things that's happened to the project. And also you can just generate multiple kind of P6 files. So for instance, if someone wants to see, like, we've had this case where they're like, okay, we can do this project 2 ways, right? What would that look like difference in terms of a schedule? And like typically you'd have to build those kind of both out manually, but with Karmen you can give it those 2 different contexts. Like, okay, I want to build the work in parallel, or I want to do this sequence work like this. And then you can say, okay, these are the 2 options. Literally, here are the 2 P6 files. We can make a decision, right? Again, opposed to having to kind of duplicate that work.
I guess, how quickly can you iterate? I mean, I guess this is quick. I mean, it built it fast. So it's,
yeah. So as in it obviously the bigger the schedule, like I can't promise to build a 20,000 schedule in minutes, but in a few hours you can probably build a schedule and then have something to work off of, right? So it's just cutting down that time. It built 100 activities in a matter of minutes.
You told me the demo is going to go fast because it works fast.
Yeah. I was like, how do we, it's the problem with the tech. Like, how do we stretch out a demo when it builds it so quickly?
I'm not, does it follow all the AACE methods? Me being a non-scheduler, I don't know what that means, but does it follow all those methods when analyzing schedule impacts? Retrospective?
So we have some sort of schedule health checks and metrics and like best practices for it to follow. But I don't think we have all the AAC methods. I don't know them off the top of my head, but if you want, you can also upload that document to Karmen and it can follow whatever best practice you want it to follow.
That is cool. I like how you can completely customize it.
Yeah, we try and leave it kind of open to the user, because obviously not every user wants to build the schedule the same way, and so we don't want to force anyone into a corner. But it's like giving people that ability to, as you said, like customize it and have it build a schedule how they would build a schedule. That's like really important to us.
I didn't fully read this one, but we'll do it live. For durations, if you gave Karmen more info to get more accurate durations, for example, can you provide resources productivity info and have Karmen produce more realistic durations?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had that before. So you can upload like a spreadsheet if you have like quantity rates and stuff like that. Will definitely help Karmen give better durations. It comes down to, as I said, like the more information you give it, the more you kind of work with it, the better a schedule you can get, right? So like if you just give it a document, ask for a baseline, it'll give you something pretty rough. And then the more information, the more context you give it in terms of how you work, or like what your, as you said, like the rates are. There's sometimes standard rates. It can give you better quality schedules, right?
So if you've got, I mean, if say flooring, for instance, right? The whole building's carpet tiles, just say that. And so it knows there's 10,000 square foot of carpet tiles, or maybe there's ceramic tile and carpet tile. You could say, okay, my ceramic tile install rate is this much per day, and this one's this much. And so it can,
it can do the math.
What else we got? What's up, Seth? So just sniping this one, we'll come back to watch the whole thing. You discuss TACT, last planner versus CPM method. So do you do any sort of last planner?
So the problem with LastPlanner, I mean, we don't integrate with like any of the kind of planner softwares. If you do your task planning on like an Excel spreadsheet, then like we're able to like import that in and keep the P6 file kind of up to date. But it depends. You know, some people use sticky notes, some people use like a dedicated software, some people use Excel. So it kind of depends on what you use for your task planning in terms of how we can integrate.
Can I take a photo of all my sticky notes on the board and send the photo in?
I'm not sure that would be the most accurate. I think it might have a bit of a time. I know people's handwriting and stuff. I wouldn't want to promise anything, but yeah, I would recommend like if you have like a document, even like any kind of PDF or Excel, like Excel CSV, then I just upload it to Karmen.
And then yes, can it accept markdown files?
Yes, I believe so.
This is kind of a similar to what we were talking about a minute ago, but how might you use Karmen to rapidly analyze different approaches to project workflows, top down, left to right, work package strategies?
Yeah.
Iterate those different.
So yeah, I mean, there's a few ways to do it. You can either just chat with it before you even build a schedule. So you can like talk with the assistant before even you've created this WBS and say like, okay, these are a few of the approaches I wanted. Can you go through the project documents and suggest to me what you think is the best? Or alternatively, if you have a little bit more time, you can even ask it like, can you go and build me like high-level versions of these schedules, and then I can go and look and discuss it with my team, which I think will be best. You can kind of take two approaches to it. It's just up to you which you prefer.
So on that, like what kind of, I guess Karmen as a company, what kind of customer service support? I mean, it seems like you could just almost log in and get right to work, but if somebody's having trouble with, and they need help training, or they're not prompting it right, or do y'all provide any sort of customer service like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's one of the big things in construction is also having someone to kind of speak to. So we have like here is just literally in our bottom right-hand corner, you can send us any message in terms of like any issues you're having, anything you don't understand. This comes directly to us. And we respond within kind of 1 to 2 hours. One of our engineers will send you a message, like resolve the issue. We've kind of pushed fixes the same day, or even updates, like people wanted new features, and we've been able to kind of keep updating and keep making it better, kind of day on day. So yeah, we really recommend that. You know, sometimes even people call us. We have our phone numbers as well to customers. So I know a lot of construction people rather get on the phone than kind of type into a chat interface. So we also have that available to people.
But that chat interface, that goes to a human. That's not an AI.
Yeah, that goes to a human. Don't worry. That is an AI.
Everyone's going AI bots, but you got the AI bot doing the scheduling, but not the customer service.
Exactly. Yeah. Still in our hands at the moment.
George asks, most project schedule activities come from the cost estimate. Can those lists of tasks be dumped in Karmen as a starting point and have the system build the logic?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's completely possible.
I think you've already answered this one, but to make sure I'm getting everybody's questions. Can you update the Karmen schedule through an Excel import?
So would you want, I guess I'd have to understand, would you want it to be exported to a P6 or a project file, or you just want to edit the Excel file?
Can you export to Excel?
We don't export to Excel, just we don't really see, as in if it's an Excel file, it's just like a list, right? So a lot of the value we have is like the logic and the kind of sequencing as well to it, right? So we typically, I guess you'd export it to a project, but you can definitely take it if you have let's say a look ahead schedule, or you have any kind of schedule that you have existing on Excel, you can put that sort of CSV file into Karmen and then have it generate a Microsoft project file or a P6 file.
We're getting a lot of good questions still. Does Karmen independently recognize start lags? For example, would it ever start paint 5 days after drywall finish starts, even if drywall finishing is not fully complete? How does it manage different zones running concurrently? Oh, so like if you got drywall starting and they've basically got a head start on you, right? You're coming in it, or does it have to be start to stop?
No, we do have lag. It can add lag to it. It tries to, again, this is why adding a reference schedule, like a past schedule that you've worked on to Karmen, so it understands how you prefer to do it. If you just, and also as I said, like you can mention kind of best practice and if you want to do it, but it's able to do lag.
Have you used Karmen to recreate a known schedule? For example, a project that was built using traditional methods first, then getting Karmen to have a go and see what you get.
Yeah, that's something we do commonly with kind of demos and customers. A lot of the time is, people are kind of skeptical. What they'll do is they'll send us the documents for the project and then like a kind of a past schedule that they've worked on in terms of structure. And then we'll run it through Karmen and they can compare it to a schedule that they've built before. And then they get a good idea of like how accurate it is, what level of detail it can provide, and like whether or not Karmen would be useful for their use case.
And then they can say, this one took me 2 days and yours took me 2 hours.
Exactly. It makes understanding the value kind of a lot easier. So, and we're pretty confident in the product to just be able to do that. So yeah, that's a common part of kind of demos these days.
So if somebody, we didn't really talk about demos and stuff, but if somebody wants to, do a demo with you, take a look at it personally.
Yeah.
You probably don't do free trials or anything like that, but you'll do a free, like, hey, let's try it out. Give me your stuff and we'll
exactly. Yeah. Like we want you to see that like it actually will give you value. So the idea, like typically the way we run a demo is like, we'll show you the platform like we've done now. And then we'll be like, okay, give us an archive project, let's say 2 years ago. And obviously, current projects are more sensitive, but give us something that's you've worked on a few years ago. Give us the documents. We'll generate the schedule. You can compare the output and see kind of the value of it kind of upfront before you commit to actually buying the software.
We got 2 questions. I'll start with the first one. Can it be cost loaded?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we do have some features, cost loaded features. It's a subset. So it can do it to a degree, but probably not like all of P6 capable. I mean, P6 is a very complex software, so I don't want to promise full cost loading, but we do have some cost loading within Karmen.
And then his other question here is also, has it been, quote, verified for accuracy against schedules from experienced schedulers?
Yeah, I mean, we've had several schedulers from different construction companies, scheduling managers who've worked 15, 20 years, who've been like, wow, like this picked up scope, like some stuff that even I wouldn't have even maybe put into the schedule. We've been able to give very detailed schedules to owners, a lot more than we would before, and like used for like RFPs and stuff. So yeah, I mean, all the feedback that we've had is from experienced schedulers has been that this has been great. As I said, the only real stumbling block that we've ever had is like how to give it the information the best way possible, right? It's not about the AI. It's more about like, how do we communicate with the AI?
But then I guess, like you were saying a minute ago, like if you want to verify it yourself, give a sample and then compare it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So don't take my word for it.
Dirk asks, so we did a demo last week of Triton. Can you talk about some of the government deliverables it is able to provide?
Yeah, so Dirk and I spoke briefly last week. So a lot of the kind of federal projects have very clear kind of ways they want to receive information. Like they want to see like updates and checklists. What Karmen can do is it can give you, like, you can ask it those questions which they would ask you, right? So as in terms of like the longest critical path and giving like narratives. I mean, we don't do full reporting, but you are able to do those sort of kind of TIAs, which they want you to submit to them, and then also give them the information for certain parts. But we don't have a full reporting feature yet, but a lot of the information that they request, you can ask Karmen for, and it can give it to you pretty simply.
I keep seeing over there on the left-hand sidebar, it says comparisons. Did we skip over that button or? Yeah,
we do have a comparisons feature. I mean, this you can do in P6, but it was, it's basically just to compare old, like sort of month-to-month schedules. So we've had as in we have people who are like, okay, we want to see what's happening to the float over time. I can see if I have like a demo of it. I can just show you, but I can just pull it up here. But it's just to give you a summary of what's happened to the critical path over time. So you can see here, just like baseline versus an update. You can see any sort of documents that might have affected it. It can just create a comparison. So it can go through, run an analysis. It can kind of summarize what's happened to the schedule, what's happened to the float, what activities are becoming critical, what things are going to happen as the project kind of progresses, gives you like a summary of what happens, and you can kind of ask it month to month what's happening to your schedule.
But that's got a chat bar there too, where you can continue to ask it more specific questions based on.
Yeah, exactly. You can ask like, what's happening to my schedule? Like it's identifying a few key risks here and stuff. So yeah, so it's just to really be able to compare as monthly updates go on, what's actually happening to your schedule.
That's cool. That kind of goes with this next question, where somewhat it says interface with Smart PM and Procore, where Smart PM's a kind of schedule analysis.
Yeah.
Can it do a lot of the same type of analysis stuff that Smart PM does, where it can look at, you're starting to stack trades or that sort of stuff?
I mean, I don't know fully what Smart PM's features are. I know they do a lot of schedule analysis. I'm sure they're great at what they do. Our kind of core features is like building, updating schedules, right? Like what we want to do is kind of reduce the manual work. We don't want to give you like a dashboard or something. Everything information we give you, we want it to be actionable, if that makes sense.
I got you. But it does interface where it goes, you can export to P6 if you want to run it to Smart PM. I know Smart PM takes a P6 upload.
Yeah, so that's fine. Yeah, I mean our P6 file is just like any other P6 file when you export it.
And then Procore, it doesn't. Do you interface directly with Procore, or if you want to upload a Procore, you just do the P6?
Yeah, I mean we can, but typically we would just recommend to just upload it like you would any other P6 file.
This is a long one. I'm going to read it live.
Okay.
Started reading it. I was like, let's just get into it. So I see the human factor can still be good versus bad on the garbage in, garbage out, which you get that probably whether you're doing it manually or with an AI system.
Yeah.
But not to talk smack at college grads, non-field types of basic relays to learns. I appreciate it, Scott. Still can't put a price on field experience, or you can from my projects from hell experience, getting integrated into the office one day. All right, this is the question, I think. Is there a learning curve where the software incorporates the realities in the field into the scheduling, or prompt questions from it on best case, worst case actions?
So I think it makes a good point that field experience and as projects from hell experience are always going to be valuable. And that's something that probably AI won't be able to take into account for a while. Like it won't be able to think of these things without having lived those experiences, right? So the only way you can really give it that knowledge is by you chatting with it and telling you it. And then I guess in terms of like kind of project engineers using off the bat, I think I don't think this is software. I mean, this might be controversial for me to say. I don't think this is software that should be used by someone who's just got into the industry. I think training and being able to understand these documents and schedules is really important, as I think everyone on this call probably would know. So I think someone should at least have used P6 and done things the manual way before going and use this software. Like this should be for a more experienced user who knows how to do things and are able to check and review well. Like that's what I'd say this is used for. And then also able to put in that lived experience, as you mentioned, right?
That's the way I see all the AI tools, though. I mean, I've written articles about it, but I look at it as more of like kind of a entry level, really smart, but entry level project engineer or something, right?
Yeah.
You still, if you're the senior manager, you still got to review the output. You've still got to double check things. You can't just input, get the output and hit publish, right? Or send it straight to the client. You're still gonna have to review the output from your project engineer, make sure the logic makes sense. But it's helping do all that grunt work for you, right? It'll give you the 80% solution. I mean, that's talking software, any of the AI solutions. That's my take.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that's my point. It's like, is it giving this to a project engineer would be like giving a project engineer another project engineer's work to check. So like, what can you really hope from that as a result? So that's why we're like, you should know how to use P6 or project to a degree. Like, you don't have to be an expert, as in you should have used the software. You should understand how to read these kind of documents and translate that into a schedule before going and kind of using this software.
Right, but it's not going to, like, to that same point, you've got to know how to build a project.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You still got to give it your own knowledge of how to build a project. It's not going to magically know necessarily the best sequence or this or that. It'll take a guess, but you still got to manipulate it and get it the way.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here's a security question. For large contractors working on confidential infrastructure or public sector projects, how are you handling data privacy, modeling, training, and document ownership?
Yeah, so we don't use your data to train our models. So like anything that you give us is not being used to train a model that is used on someone else's project or even on your project. We just don't do that. We're SOC 2 compliant. We have kind of industry standard audits from a third party, where we have like a sort of security policies in place. All data is encrypted at rest and in transit. And yeah, we've gone through sort of like a Fortune 500 companies screening process, and they've worked on like federal projects and very confidential, sensitive projects, and we were able to kind of get through their security process. So we're pretty confident on a lot of the projects that you'd be able to use this tool.
So kind of building off that, CMMC compliant. You said they used it on federal, so FedRAMP.
Yeah, so we're not CMC FedRAMP compliant. With contractors who require that, we typically say, like, you can upload your schedules, and like for monthly updates for TAs, you can anonymize the data and give that to Karmen, but we wouldn't recommend you to put your project documents, like those are sensitive. You shouldn't put those on Karmen, but you can anonymize the data and give it, and you can use the platform.
We're about 5 minutes out, so I'll go through the last few questions here, but if we got any other questions, keep them coming. Has anyone completed an actual project with Karmen Schedule? And if so, what was the feedback from the construction team and the subs?
Yeah, we have had many people actually kind of build and use Karmen from a schedule. We've had it build schedules for subs and then also build like the sort of baseline schedule. It's just been kind of positive feedback. I guess we kind of trust that people have reviewed the project before it started and kind of maintain it and update it throughout. So, I mean, I guess we have to give some credit to the actual team members themselves. Like, it's not just Karmen has made this project good, but yeah, Karmen schedules are on active projects at the moment now.
I mean, it's like anything, right? Like, you can build a building with hammers, or you can build a building with nail guns, right? It's
the people who are the ones who made the project, right? This is just a tool that's helped them do it. So I wouldn't say that like Karmen has been really great, but it's helped them, and they've liked it and they've used it, and it's helped them with their project, right? And the project's going well.
This is one I don't disagree with. It's a much nicer space than P6.
Thank you, Abdulaziz.
Aaron says, and so everybody, yeah, this recording, there's been a few people ask, the recording, it'll stay live on LinkedIn, this LinkedIn event page. It'll be there forever until LinkedIn goes away, I guess. But it's also on YouTube. So if you go to Construction Yeti YouTube, it's on that page as well. So if you want to share it with your team or come back and review it later or whatever. And then we'll also make sure you've got Jonas's Calendly link, so you can book a demo with him and take a deeper look at it. And and then give them your own, stuff, and let them see what it'll do for you.
Pepper me with more questions.
I'm gonna take my prize here. Nice answer. I guess this was the entry level engineer, needing to review work. What else we got? Did I get everybody's questions? Did I miss anything? Oh, here's one. I missed this one. I guess everyone wants to know, how much is it?
So we charge per seat, and like also by usage. So we'd say it could be around $1,000 a month, like that price point. We try not to make it super expensive, just because we want people using it and updating it. But it varies depending on how much you do in terms of project work, and like the volume. So we've seen like crazy bid size packages of like thousands and thousands of pages, which could be more, but it really depends, I guess, on the size of your company. But that's just a ballpark for people.
But yeah, I guess if they do a demo with you, take a look at it, they can give you their own specifics, and you can proper quote. All right, this is a question I've been wondering too. So what's next? What's next coming down your roadmap?
Yeah, I mean, for us, there's a lot of stuff in P6, and which we don't offer. Like, there's a lot of features and things that people do currently through the software, which we want to be able for them to do in Karmen. And I think Doug touched on it, like being able to do like more in terms of reporting, and really being able to automate a lot of that sort of tedious process back and forth with owners, and being able to just have people have their time fully focused on a project and not on the kind of manual admin side of it, like actually working on a job and making sure it gets done on time. That's kind of what we want to see.
That's what I love about, people that are doing kind of these real niche, like doing schedule to help right here, right? We're taking that workload off of somebody.
Yeah.
Right? You can take it down from 2 days down to, 2 hours, for instance, building a new schedule or those monthly updates. And I kept posting, meme videos or posts about, a lot of times I think people are updating their schedules, late at night after kids go to bed because, they've got an OAC meeting tomorrow and they need their monthly update, and they're constantly scrambling and they're going in there editing and changing and have a tool to help you at least get there a little faster.
No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, we just chatted about that anecdote, and I just think it just resonated with so many people, right? That feeling of like having to go and do that schedule at a time you don't want to have to do that schedule, right?
Yeah. And also too, we touched on a little bit, but putting together schedules for RFP responses and stuff where I get brought in to work on RFP responses at times. We don't put together full-blown schedules like this for what we do on the owner's rep side, but it's still, having to go in there and I've still got day projects I'm working on. I'm doing all that.
Exactly.
We need to go build I need a response for this question they have. And so I got to work that into my workflow. I can only imagine, a superintendent or a PM that's already, they're probably in that last push trying to finish a project. They're working however many hours a week, just trying to get done.
And then you throw something new at them.
Yeah, for the next one. I don't care
exactly.
right now. I'm worried about this one, but they need help. So this kind of maybe goes with the pricing question. How does licensing work? Per project?
We typically do it per seat, so per user who's kind of building and updating projects, and then we give you unlimited amount of projects. We just cap how many documents you upload to a certain amount per month, just because we've seen like crazy specs and drawings, but like thousands and thousands of pages. So we cap that, but it's on a per user basis, and you can use it on as many projects as you want.
Oh, I missed this one earlier. I did see it, but I forgot to go. He just brought it back up again. Is there a limit to the number of activities?
There is no limit to the number of activities, and we do know schedules go above 10,000, can go quite above 10,000, 30, 40,000 activities. So it could. Only thing is, it will take you longer time. I can't promise to do a 20,000 activity schedule in a few minutes, but there isn't a limit to it.
What's the biggest schedule you see somebody put in it?
I've seen like a 30,000 activity schedule, I think, which is pretty insane for like these kind of multi-year kind of mega projects. But yeah, we've seen some big schedules.
That's wild. And then, I mean, just having something too automated, because, 30,000 activities, imagine manually trying to keep that thing updated.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's where the real value of like a lot of the updating stuff as well comes. Like the bigger the schedule, the more like kind of you have to go through it. And there's people who obviously like know instantly what line where in the schedule and be able to do it. But it's just like being able to just do that quicker and have the AI just to point you in the right direction. Then you can go and kind of hone in on where you need to update it. But yeah, it's pretty time consuming.
Is there a cap to the number of documents, kind of resource documents you upload?
I mean, obviously you can add more pages. We just say per user 10,000 pages per month of documents. And then obviously, like if it's more, then you have to pay more basis on the usage. But there's no cap to the number that you can upload, or it's able to take into account, if that's what you mean.
So you could upload, I mean, obviously plans and specs.
Yeah, you can upload everything. It's
schedules, examples, and you can upload basically everything you want to in it.
Exactly.
I think this was a follow-up for kind of what's the next question. So same exclusively with P6 and Project, or integrations with other kind of scheduling softwares?
I mean, P6 and Project are kind of the major ones for the moment. I mean, like obviously also OPC as well, which is kind of, there's a slow kind of transition, I'd say, towards OPC, which is like the cloud version of P6. But yeah, I mean, we haven't really seen, I mean, our focus is scheduling, right? So yes, we can do Procore integrations and stuff, but that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Well, we are over our hour, and I think we've hit on all the open questions. So
awesome.
Anything else you want to leave us with before we bounce?
No, I just maybe one last thought in terms of AI and scheduling, because I mean, I get this question a lot in terms of how do you think it's going to affect scheduling and my job, and kind of where we're going with things. But I think scheduling is one of those kind of technical skills in a way, right? It's not. It's something you kind of learn, and it's something I think, at least for a while, humans will definitely need to have an input with. And then just broadly, construction is one of those things where so much things happen on the ground, and there's so much information that I just think that kind of humans, project teams are always going to be super needed for the foreseeable, I guess, future in terms of building and planning these projects. So I would just use this and look at this like a tool, like you did any software, like when you first got Procore or anything else that's to improve it's just another piece of software, right? It's not Terminator. It's here to help, right? So I guess that's just what I'd leave it with.
So it won't build my schedule and build my project for me?
No, unfortunately not. You're still going to have people do that.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
All right, Jonas, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the demo. I think this is pretty cool.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, Matt.
Yep. See you guys. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody.
Right.